Well, welcome to the Rise with Diana podcast. You all, guess what? I have a special guest here with me, and I'm so excited to introduce her to you. This is my very good friend, Ambrea Mikolajczyk, who is the owner of Arc Restoration here in Toledo, Ohio. But it's just, she is global. Everyone. She is global. And there's so many things I want you to learn about her because she inspires me to be able to do what I do. And I believe we are the iron sharpens iron of what it means to sharpen another person and that person sharpens you. And so I'm so excited to have Ambrea as a guest today. Ambrea.
I'm so dang on happy to be here. It's not even funny. Thank
Ah,
you for allowing me an opportunity to be on your podcast and share today. I'm so
yes,
excited for this conversation.
you
You
are
don't
the
even know.
first
So
one. You're the
I know,
first one.
so
You are no,
exciting.
we're number
It feels
one.
so special.
You are always special. And Bria, there's so much to learn about you. And it's really important for us here on the Rise with Diana podcast to talk about what it means to be your authentic self, what it means to do your greatest work, what it means to speak up and advocate for yourself. But before we get there, I really want people to know a little bit more about you and how you became this real estate expert, czar development woman who is a powerhouse. How did you get here? And tell us a little bit about your family.
For sure. Okay, so as you mentioned, my name's Ambrea Mikolajczyk. I'm born and raised in Toledo, Ohio. I am married to my husband and high school sweetheart, Kevin. Gosh,
Ooh,
this year we'll be celebrating 19 years in
ooh,
September, which has been no small feat, but we're here. We're making it, y'all.
yes,
And then we
I
have
love
four
it.
children. And so I'm entering into teenagers, preteens. My kids are 16, 14, 12, and 8. So navigating all of their sports and their social life, which is more robust than ours. But either way, we're here. My husband and I started investing in real estate when we were in our 20s, really just kind of green little babies, not having any idea what we were doing, but we were willing to work hard and just figure it out. And so I came from corporate America background. I did pharmaceutical sales for 15 years
Wow.
prior to becoming a full-time entrepreneur, really kind of taking our businesses to the next level and devoting my skills and talents to, the growth and development of our own business. And so, gosh, that was in 2017. And here we are in 2024, still doing the thing and working on some of the largest projects of my dreams. And so God has
Yes.
showed up and blessed this thing, and I'm just riding the wave.
I love this. Ambrea, so many kids, beautiful kids. I love them all because I invest in you because I
Yes, you
believe in
do.
you. And I know how important it is to take a dream and make it a reality. What do
Mhm.
you believe are some of the things you need in order to speak a vision, to have a vision and have that come to life and power? I believe that
Mhm.
having something come to life is one thing, but the power that you continuously bring to that vision. How did you do it? How do you do this?
It's funny. So I'm writing a book right now, and I've been reflecting a whole lot on this
Mhm.
whole journey that I've been on. And I was born to 18-year-old parents.
Mhm.
And so many times throughout my childhood, I saw my parents essentially get kicked in the teeth, but they always got back up.
Mhm.
It was like they never missed a beat. And there were some crazy things happening, but they were always bouncing back from. I mean, in fact, as I've been writing, I wrote down, my dad always got back up.
Mhm.
And so I saw that growing up,
Mhm.
time and time again. So then when I became an adult or started navigating my own way, especially being an entrepreneur and trying to figure a lot of things out, I knew that I would work hard, overcome the challenge before me, and I live to see another day. And so
Yeah.
that notion of, yes, you're going to take a L, but
Yes.
you still have to get back up. And
Take
so
a L. What people don't, in case they don't know what that means, take a L.
you're taking a loss.
A
There's
loss.
going
Come
to be
on.
several losses, but as long
Yes.
as you're willing to get back up from it,
Mm,
learn and keep going,
mm,
dust yourself off, you will live to see another day. And so I've been implementing that. What I saw my parents do as 18-year-old babies raising children and
mhm,
having a family, that you bounce back. It doesn't preclude you just because you have the idea and the wherewithal to do that thing or become that entrepreneur. You're definitely going to be up against some challenges, but you still keep going nonetheless. We renovated a former Wonder Bread factory. And when we bought it, it was sitting vacant for about 20 years.
mm.
And first of all, we were definitely crazy.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
what regular people just buy a factory,
Yeah.
right? So
Yes.
we buy this factory and we set out to try to get finance for it. And it took 3 years
Mm,
of people telling us no
mhm,
to giving us money for this thing. 3 years.
mm,
But we just kept going and we kept asking. I promise you, I visited every regional, statewide, citywide bank
mhm,
trying to get the money to renovate this thing. And I was told no for 3 straight years
mm,
until someone said yes.
mm.
And it was one lender who said yes. And after that, we went in construction in 2020. And then what happened in 2020? COVID,
Yeah.
March of 2020. So it takes me 3 years before someone finally said yes to giving us the money and believing in our vision for this building.
Mm,
And then catastrophic
mm.
pandemic happens and everyone starts trying to like possibly pull back, but we kept going nonetheless, had that crazy disruption, and we were able to finish it at the end of 2021. It took us 1 year construction in the middle of COVID, and we pulled that thing off, defying all the deadlines, all the obstacles, hurdles before us. But just the years and the dedication, and
Mm,
so many times that I wanted to give up,
mm.
but I kept showing up, right? Like tomorrow's going to be another day. And so really just back to your initial question, I think understanding that you are going to have a loss.
Yes.
You're going to have hard days where you want
Mhm,
to give up. But I
mhm.
promise you, if you keep showing up and if you keep doing the work, you'll look up and you would have done it. You just have to
Yes.
stay the course.
Yes.
And that's really the only difference is just staying the course, knowing that you're going to take a L, but keeping going anyway.
But Ambrea, so you've seen this modeled. You've seen your parents go through this. You've actually got yourself back up. What do we say to the woman who's in corporate America right now, who's just like, you don't understand, I'm tired? What are the tools that you use to keep yourself grounded?
That's a really good question. I would certainly say in corporate America, it helps if you have a friend.
Mm,
If you have someone, preferably, who doesn't look like you and is in a leadership role,
mm,
that person could be the key to helping you keep going. Why? Because that person is going to see you,
mhm,
support you, understand you, advocate for you when you aren't in the room. You need a friend and ally in that way. So when
mm.
I look back at because I'm writing this book
Yes,
and I've been revisiting all these things,
yes.
I had a manager who I remember being on a field ride with him, and he looked over at me and he said, Ambrea, you are one of the best presenters I ever heard. And
Mm,
I envision you presenting
mm,
from Pfizer's big stage one day.
mm.
I looked at him, I was so confused.
Yeah.
You're talking to me? What do you mean?
Yes,
You're talking to me? You mean me? And he was
yeah.
like, yes. And he goes, and have you seen the promotion on the board? Like
Mm,
there's a promotion if you get online and there's a job that I really think that you should apply for. I think that you would kill it. I think you'd be great at it. And again, I'm like, who, me? Like, what do you
right.
mean? And I'm like, yeah, I saw it. I did see the job, but I wasn't going to apply. I
Yeah,
don't know why. But he
yeah.
said, Ambrea, he knew I had excuses. And he said, Ambrea, okay. but I really think you'd be good at it and you should apply.
Mm. So do
And
you think, yeah, go
go
ahead. I
ahead.
don't want to. No, no, no. I
No,
want
I
to
was
hear.
just saying that someone seeing you, valuing
Yes.
you, who again may not look like you, but is in a leadership position, can help amplify your voice,
Mm,
amplify the way you see yourself,
mhm.
and really help to bring out the best. And so if there's someone who, you know, you believe, right? They smile at you, they're happy, and they're nice enough, and they're in a managerial role, I'd say, invite that person to coffee.
Yes.
Go to lunch with that person, get to know that person so they can get to know you and
Yes.
really start to build that advocacy up in that person, so that they can help you kind of bring out that voice.
Well, that means so much to me because we talk so much about mentorship, allyship, sponsorship, and there's a two-way street because you have to seek that out. You have to
Yes.
seek that out. You have to want it for yourself. But Ambrea, there's something obviously that that person saw in you. What and when? There's two questions I have. It's a two-part question. One, when did you start to love Ambrea and your authentic self? Have you
Mm,
always loved Ambrea and this authentic aspects of you? Because I see that, you know. And then also too, what are your superpowers? What is it that makes Ambrea unique? And we see how Ambrea gets back up. But what are the
mhm,
superpowers and when did you become to know this authentic part of
mm.
you?
Gosh, it took a long time.
Mm,
It's so funny. So I'm 44,
mhm,
and I promise you, I feel like 40 for me was a complete revelation
mm,
as to who I truly was. So up until that point, so I'm the oldest of four who grew up in my household, and everyone looking up to me,
mhm,
right? And
mhm.
in that way. And then listen, I grew up with my parents. So I'm
Yes.
growing up with my parents, and I'm the oldest to these three siblings underneath me. And so
Mm,
I'm always setting a good example
yeah.
and being this people pleaser.
Mm,
I was my parents first, and I feel like I was their answer to getting it right. I was kind of
mhm.
like their motivation to say, you know what? Nope, we're going to do this thing and we're going to do it right. And even though there's naysayers who saying our relationship might not work and we're too young to do this thing and we're too young to have
Mhm.
this baby and we probably shouldn't be having this baby. No, 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 we're going to prove you wrong. And
Yes.
so through that, they raised me, which I now know have been this overachieving, perfectionist,
Yes.
want everyone around me to be happy, and this
Mm,
problem solver, do gooder, like all
mhm.
the things.
And
And
I
it
want to
what
stop you for a second. Listen, everybody. Listen what she's saying. This is what she lived. Go ahead.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
So I didn't recognize this kind of go, 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 make
Mhm.
everybody happy, happy until I really turned 40 and I
Yeah.
put myself on a timeout,
Mm,
because it wasn't sitting well with my soul. Like I was
mm.
like, wait a minute, I'm doing all these things. Do I even like doing these things? Or am I
Right.
doing these things because the people around me want me to do them and that's why I'm doing them? And
Girl,
then I
come
even
on.
went a step further, like, do I even like the stuff that I'm doing?
Mm,
I had never like paused to ask myself why was I on this type of hamster wheel, and was
mhm.
it genuine and authentic to me?
Right.
So I left for a weekend. I left on a Thursday. I looked at my husband. I was like, "Look, I love you, but I gotta go figure myself out." Like I
Mm,
don't even know. Like him and I have been together since I've been 16 years old. He was
mhm.
16. Like I'm like, you gotta just step back. I mean, I
Right.
love you and I'm not going anywhere, but I need to figure Ambrea out,
Right.
um, personally.
Yeah.
So I went to just got on a quick flight, Allegiant Air out of Toledo to
Mhm.
Orlando really quickly.
Yeah.
And I locked myself in the hotel room and prayed and meditated and read, and I whiteboarded myself. Like I bought a poster board
Yeah.
and I bought markers and stickers and all the
Uh,
things. And I wrote Ambrea at the top,
mm,
and I wrote down everything that I was doing.
mhm.
And then on the other, I mean, I looked at everything and I said, okay, do you want to do this?
Mhm.
Do you feel like it is purpose driven?
Mm.
Do you feel like it is fulfilling?
Yes.
And is it on that path?
Yes.
And so I just went through every line item and I put a yes to it or a no to it, a cut out, a quit, like
Mm.
all the things. And listen, it was very hard for me because I was raised never to be a quitter.
Yes.
And so if I had signed up for these things,
And
that
people
meant
pleasing.
people pleasing. I'm committed. I can't leave these people high and dry. Right?
Mm.
They barely know how to pronounce my name, but I'm showing up there every day ready to go because I said I was going to do these things. But just giving myself permission to let things go that didn't serve me. It was time for me to show up for myself in a way that I hadn't before. And so what I do now is completely different than I did before. I ask myself questions when someone asks me if I want to do something. Again, is it purpose driven?
Yes.
Is it fulfilling to me in some way? Do I think that this is going to have the impact that I want to leave, right? Is this a part of my legacy plan? And I'm asking myself those questions before I take it on. Or,
Mhm.
Ambrea, is this you just trying to please people because they called you up? You
Yes.
know, like there's a
Yes.
difference.
It's
And
so
it
good.
took me a long time to get there. And so um it it was a part of self-care that I
Mhm.
hadn't tapped into ever.
Yeah.
And so now I know what is important to Ambrea. I know what Ambrea has to do daily, weekly, quarterly, yearly to keep myself grounded and connected to who I am. So I don't get burnt out and feeling like I can't breathe
Mhm.
anymore. So that's
Yeah,
a
because
long-winded answer,
it's so
but
good and it's so necessary because people are hearing the steps. How many who are listening to the podcast, if you are driving, I'd like you to honk the horn. And for those of you who are maybe getting ready for your day or closing your day or whatever, how many of you can listen and relate to this? I mean, we've
Mhm.
all known as women leaders that we have to do, we feel like we got to do everything for everyone and not serving ourselves.
Mhm.
And so as you got through that time, and you raise your hand out there in the podcast land, yes. When you got to this point, did you start to learn what are your superpowers? What is it
Yeah.
that makes Ambrea Ambrea?
Yes. So execution.
Yes.
That's my superpower. When
Yes.
I now know that if there's a problem or something proposed and everybody does like this
Yeah.
and they look to me and it doesn't matter who they are, how old they are, what walk of life they are, what boardroom I am in, everyone looks like this
Mhm.
at me. And
Mm.
so I didn't know what that was before. But
Yeah.
now I know it's because I execute, right? I
Yes.
have some ideas, but then I also know how to get it across the finish line.
Mm.
And so I just get it done. And I've always been that way, right? So
Mhm.
my mom's going to call me, my dad's going to call me, sisters and brothers are calling me, colleagues are calling me. I'm always like, I would go in a room, literally. I did a Goldman Sachs 10,000 small business program in 2019.
Mhm.
And I'd say to myself, okay, Ambrea, you're on your way to Detroit to go to this class. You're tired, tired, tired. You're going to take it easy. I would have to try to give myself a pep talk. You're going to take it easy. You're going to get to this class. You're going to listen. You're going to learn. You're going to take it in. You're going to chill. You're going to be quiet, right? You're going to
Mhm.
just listen.
Right.
You're going
Right.
to let everybody else do their thing, and you're there as a spectator. It didn't matter. Those were the classes where I tried to give myself a pep talk that I always ended up at the front of the class giving an
Yes.
example about A, B,
Yes.
C, and D. Right? Like
Yes.
inevitably, it's just how I'm wired that way.
Right.
I'm embracing it now because I understand what it is. I understand that that's just my superpower,
It
and
is.
people aren't going to speak up in a way that leads to people getting things done in the way that I can.
Yes.
In fact, at the end of that Goldman Sachs, and there's 49, there's a class of 50 business owners in this class. At the
Mhm.
end of the class, everybody votes on who they want to represent their class at the graduation and speak. And we had to choose a man and a woman. They chose me to speak,
Yes.
right? And that's like, a group of peers in this
Yes.
room. And I'm just like, I should have known,
Yes.
right? Like it
Yes.
just, happens that way. And so, yes, that is definitely my superpower, just getting it done. And people
Yes.
know that. And I know people sense it and feel it. And so I
Yes.
just accept it now that I'm going to be called on to finish this thing.
Yes. But you had a revelation that Ambrea needs to be at the top of that execution, right? So how are you now speaking up and advocating for what are you doing to speak up for Ambrea? And what are you doing to advocate for yourself, even with your family? Because, see, we all have family who's pulling on us. We've got companies pulling on us. And because these women that are coming to this All Rise Live Global Summit and the people that listen to this podcast, most of them, they getting some stuff done. But how are you declaring, as you had your, time away, how are you declaring that Ambrea is at the top of that list?
So when I went away and did my personal retreat of discovery, I'm calling it, I also took with me the book Boundaries
Mm,
by Henry Cloud. And
yes,
so I read that
great
from
book.
front to back
Yes.
when I was there on that personal retreat. And again, life changing
Mhm.
because I realized I was going to cave under the people pleasing
Mhm.
if I didn't start setting some parameters up for the people around me and for
Yeah.
myself. And it was really instrumental. And so I am okay with saying no today to a lot of things that I wasn't before. And it can be my husband,
Yes.
right? It can
Say it
be
louder.
for children.
Yes.
It could be my mom, my dad. I have to put up boundaries to protect myself and really to be the best version of me for them. It's
Yes.
for them too. These boundaries is as much for them as it is for me to say, no, I cannot do that right now. You're going to have to give me 10 minutes.
Yes.
Or I'm writing this book. So I put a sign on my office.
Right.
Hey, busy. Do not come in here. I am
Right.
writing. Don't
Yeah.
disturb me. I don't care about the fingernail clippers that you cannot find in
Yeah.
this moment. Right? Like
That's right.
this is my time. And
Yes.
so um it has changed my life
Yes.
truly by saying no and really telling people how to interact with me appropriately,
Yes. Because you teach
where I
people
didn't
how to
have
treat
that
you.
up before.
That's right. So how is it that when you are doing this, now that you've come out of the people pleasing sort of mentality, what are the things that you have to remind yourself that you are worthy of it? What do you tell yourself to tell you that you're worthy of this? Because I'm sure you get called out,
Mhm,
or you probably feel people are calling you out. Here you are, this
mhm.
powerful woman, right? You are declaring who you are, you're executing, you're getting it done. But what if you're not liked? This is a thing that sits deep in your soul. How are you getting yourself back to saying, but I am worthy of it?
Oh my gosh, that is a hard thing for me. Um, it's an internal thing.
Yes.
More than it is everybody else applying pressure, I apply the pressure to myself, right? I
Yes.
start feeling the guilt and the weight of not being there,
Mm-hmm.
saying no, not being at the event when I'm sitting here reading a book, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that book I bought it 5 months ago. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So at what point, Ambrea, are you truly going to show up and say, you know what, I really want to read this book? And
Mm-hmm.
it's okay if I don't go to your, event. I was at the last one.
Yes.
I
Yes.
went before. But it's just an internal struggle, but I'm getting so much better at because to your point, I am worthy and I am living this one life that
Yes.
I was given. It's
Yes.
mine. It
Yes.
doesn't belong to anyone else.
Yes.
And so who else is supposed to live it for me? So if I want to
Yes.
read a magazine, I'm going to read the magazine and I may
Yes.
not come to your event. And that's okay because this is my life. And I think
Yes.
we don't know when our time here is up.
Right.
And that has really put a lot into perspective. I lost my mother-in-law last year. And
Yes.
ever since then, I've looked at things so much differently. right? Because
Mhm.
we can be gone tomorrow. We don't know.
Right.
But yet we would have put what we want off.
Yes.
Why? We're
Yes.
here for a short period of time. And so if you cannot leave your life in legacy in someone else's hands, you're going to
Yes.
have to take control and stand up for yourself and all the things.
You will be coming to the All Rise Live Global Summit. The event she won't miss is the All Rise Live Global Summit. But one of
Mm-mm.
the things I wanted to ask you is that, you are a woman of purpose and you are a woman of intention. And if you given the opportunity to be able to speak at the All Rise Live Global Summit, which by the way, she is, round of applause. What do you want these folks to know? What is it that you want them to believe? What is the one thing that
Mm,
you want them to hear about you
mm.
and what you would have to impart upon them? What can we
For
expect to
sure.
hear from you? I mean, you don't
Yeah.
have to have it all. It could be different, but for
Yes.
right now, this is
No.
what you're feeling.
Yes. The more that you are feeling in the pit of your gut,
Mm,
telling you,
mm,
calling you to do something bold,
ooh,
different, completely outside of your comfort zone, believe it.
ooh,
Believe it. It is intentional. You are called to do great things
mm,
and leave a tremendous legacy,
mm,
but you're not going to get there playing it safe. I
mm,
am walking, breathing, living proof of what that looks like when you
yeah,
take a step forward, not knowing
mm,
what's around the corner, but you take the step anyway. And the way that it has been blessed, it's your story too.
mm,
It's your story waiting to be revealed,
mm,
but you've got to take that step first. The more is real. It
mm.
is real. And you have to answer the call. You have to listen to it. And I just look forward to sharing more about my story of more and how it has manifested in my life.
And Bria, you gave me chills because so many women are sitting on what it is that they know they're
Mm,
being called to do. And thankfully, because you're teaching us that, hey, you got to take an L.
mhm.
You're gonna have to take an L. You have to know that this is not gonna come like just like this.
Yep.
You have to have your faith. You have to have a deeper understanding of who you are, right? You told
Mm,
us to get the team, get the people that can see things in us that we can't see in ourselves. I
mhm,
took notes just while you were sitting here. And you got to tell, hard days. And this is coming from a people pleaser, y'all. This is
mhm,
coming from a person
mhm.
who's, and so I know that so many of us people please, and that is death. That is death. Ambrea, if you could say, what is your greatest work? Because around here, we talk about doing our greatest work. What in your mind, in your soul, is your greatest work?
I believe my greatest work is going to be sharing my story with the
Mm,
masses.
mm,
That is going to be my greatest work. How I came from very, very humble beginnings, defied all odds stacked against me. I am not supposed to be before you and you guys today,
yeah.
but to share that story of overcoming and what that has looked like through all the storms, trials, tribulations when I should have been counted out,
Mm,
but I made the choice to keep going and
mm,
share exactly the steps in which I took to get there in terms of real estate investing,
mm,
generational wealth
mm,
building, legacy building, community building, building up other entrepreneurs,
mm,
being example to other women of color, to be born to 18-year-old parents, to come from very humble beginnings to navigating corporate America for the first time in a very wealthy industry and how that impacted me. And then to have a journey of entrepreneurship and real estate development and being the only woman of color in
Mhm.
the majority of all the rooms I go into, and how I'm able to navigate that. I'm supposed to be sharing my story to the masses so
Yes.
that people are really called to action in their own life. And so that's going to be my greatest work.
That is the greatest work. Ambrea, you are going to impact and have impacted so many lives, which is why we can't wait to have you in Chicago.
I'm
For those
so
of you who are
excited.
listening, Ambrea Mikolajczyk, who is the owner of Arc Restoration, can we all give her a round of applause and
Thank
gratitude
you.
for taking
Thank you.
time to pour into us? You've given us some amazing steps to help us as we are all trying to rise and do our greatest work and to really be able to make an impact and to leave this earth with something that we've been born with, right? That we've been called with. We can't wait to hear you speak. How
I can't wait.
do people get a hold of you? How do we learn more about you?
For sure. You can follow the company's Instagram and Facebook, arc.restoration. You can find us online at arctoledo.com. And you can Google me and find me on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. And so I'm certainly accessible.
As the timestamp of this is April of 2024. You can learn more about Ambrea because we will be posting about her a lot on the All Rise Live page, as well as Rise with Diana. Ambrea, I love you and I'm grateful for you. And I'm thankful that you're going to join us in Chicago. And I just am thankful for the life that God's given you and that you're willing to share it with us all. Thank you so
Yes,
very
thank
much.
you. Love you so much. Thanks
Love
again
you.
for having me. And I'm so
I,
excited for All Rise Live. Thank
I
you.
love it. Thank you. Awesome.
Bye.
Okay. Awesome.
Bye.
Okay.